Good morning, all of you. Am I audible? One or two unmute can just confirm.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So let us start with the next part of probability. We have started with the classical theory of probability, which is also known as the priori theory, right? So we started with this priori theory, and from the priori theory, we came to know that probability is number of favorable cases divided by total number of equally likely cases, right? But the limitation of classical approach when it fails to describe the problems when we deviate from cards or dice or coins. In that case, we have to go to a new theory of probability. And from here, we came to relative frequency of probability, or which is known as empirical probability, right? So we have learned about empirical probability as well, where we said the distribution nature moves from discrete towards continuous, right? And if your sample space is discrete, right, so we are very finite, we have very defined output. But when it moves towards the continuous, towards continuum, which means that there is a range, and we try to validate the hypothesis, right, by increasing the number of experiment, which is again not a very good idea. So empirical probability is again the number of favorable cases divided by total number of equally likely cases, but with a limitation where n goes towards infinity. We try to take the number of experiments towards infinity, right? And for long trials, we also said that the output actually deviate from the expected output. So the output which we were looking for may not match to your expectation, right? In case we are trying to do number of trials, which is not a very good idea, or practically it is not good to increase these number of trial and try to prove the point of equality. And from here we try to uh, formulate another approach, that is subjective approach, which was based upon degree of confidence and belief, right? So I could decide based upon my belief that what is the probability of happening of this event. But again, this has come with the limitation of consistency, and then we have to have careful assignment. So from here we try to formulate the approach, another approach, that is axiomatic approach. And it has come with two axioms where probability will range from zero to occurrence, and the second point was that the probability of entire space will be equal to 1, right? So we came with this approach, and then we have formulated and we have done some examples based upon this. And the axiomatic theorem again worked for the mutually exclusive events, right? So we said we have mutually exclusive or disjoint events, then the axiomatic approach or the axiomatic probability is going to work, where we said p of a union b is p of a plus p of b. So what if the events are not mutually exclusive, right? And if both the events they occur simultaneously, so we said axiomatic approach should be bit modified. And with the modified approach, we said that p of a union b is equal to p of a plus p of b minus p of a intersection b. So this is going to work when you have when you have events which can occur simultaneously, right? When you have events which are not mutually exclusive, right? And then we sort out some events, and we learned about some terminologies as well, like experiment event, independent dependent event, right? So today we will continue with this the conditional probability, and then we will look for the posterior probability theorem, right? So from priori we have to move towards posterior. Right. So when you are handling this, you have to keep in mind that there are the events, like we have talked about independent events and dependent events as well. And when we say independent event, there is a clear distinction between independent events as well as the mutually exclusive events. So we cannot say that independent and mutually exclusive events they are the same thing, right? Because yesterday we have come up with that probability of picking a heart and spade from a deck of cards, right? So we said P of A intersection B is going to be 0, right? But if we are looking for two independent events, then the probability might be changed, right? So today we'll look for that difference as well. So independent and mutually exclusive, they differ with respect to each other. And whenever you do sampling, right, you again have to consider one more important point, that sampling could be done with replacement and without replacement, because the forthcoming examples would be based upon this idea. So if we say sampling is done with replacement, so we very well understand that with replacement means that every member of this population could be replaced after we pick any member from that population or the sample space, right? And if that is done, right, if we replace, suppose we pick a random ball from a bag of some white or red balls, etc., which are the standard examples in probability. So what we do, we pick and then we again put that ball back into the bag, right? So it means that member has the possibility of being chosen again, right, more than once. So whenever sampling is done with replacement, so events could be like, you can consider all the events to be independent. It means that the result of your first pick is not going to change the probability for the second pick, right? This is with replacement. And another is without replacement, which is the flip of this replacement. So we are going to pick a card from deck of 52 cards, and we are not going to put that card back into the that deck, and then we will see the probability from the remaining 51 cards from that deck of cards, right? So whenever sampling is done without replacement, it means every member of that population or that sample space is going to be chosen only once, right? So in that case, probability for your second pick is always affected by the result of the first pick. So these events could be considered as dependent or not independent, right? So this can be any way you can call them dependent event, or they are not independent event, one and the same thing. So we said we have with replacement and without replacement. With replacement, the events are considered to be independent, and without replacement, the events are considered to be dependent. And the definition for dependent and independent we have learned yesterday, right? So how we differentiate between these two events in terms of the effect of outcome of one event to the other event, right? So we have to keep this in mind as well. So another let us start with that, and then we will move to conditional probability. So when we said we have mutually exclusive events, right? So probability, let us take the same example of like suppose you want to you have a deck of card, and you want to pick the king, right? So from that the probability of picking a king from a deck of 52 cards, right, it could be 4 by 52, which is very very simple, right, if we see the probability for king only, right? Now if we move towards the mutually exclusive events, right, when there are two events, I'm again repeating, when there are two events, say A and B, they are mutually exclusive. So it is impossible for them to happen together, right? They are not going to work simultaneously, which means that probability of these two events when they are mutually exclusive is going to be 0, right? So which is an impossible event. For example, if you have to pick a king and a queen from a deck of card at the same time, so it means that probability will be 0. That's why we have learned an example of heart and spade, and we said if the events are mutually exclusive, then this probability will be 0, right? And for if they are mutually exclusive and you want to calculate the probability of A or B, it could be king or queen, heart or spade, then we have calculated that because the intersection of these two will remain 0 always, right? So we can simply say that this could be probability P of A plus P of B, right? So in that case, you can always calculate, suppose it's a king or queen, then the probability will be 1 by 13 plus 1 by 13, which is equal to 2 by 13. Similarly, you can calculate for any other given problem, right, or any other given scenario. So we said that probability of king and queen is 0, and we said that probability of king or queen is 2 by 13. So this will work when we have the mutually exclusive events in an example, right? But if we have independent events or we talk about the dependent event, then we have to have a different formula for that. As you yesterday, one of you pointed out that it could be P of A multiplied by P of B. Now that formula is going to work when we have independent events, right? So in a nutshell, we said that mutually exclusive events, when they do not occur simultaneously, right? These are mutually exclusive events. Whereas independent event is when occurrence of any one event is not going to control the happening of the other event in any experiment, right? That is independent event, right? And how do you represent mutually exclusive and independent event? So if the events are mutually exclusive, we said these will be represented by this P of A and B is equal to 0, and the mathematical formula for your independent events can be represented by, so yesterday we came up with this at the end of the lecture. P of A and B is equal to P of A, P of B. So here that is going to work, right? So you have to be very carefully analyze into the experiment or into your example, or while solving any problem, look for the particular question, like whether we are talking about the mutually exclusive events or we said that these are independent events. Sometimes this is inherently into the question, and you have to analyze, right? Based upon the formulation of that particular problem also, right? So this way we have to understand that difference between P of A and B is 0, and P and A is equal to P of A into P of B, right? So I hope this would be clear better now. And let us move to the next part of this probability theorem. So we have to come to the conditional probability now, right? So again, I'm writing this P of A and B is equal to P of A into P of B, right? So this is known as multiplicative theory. So we said from the axiomatic and modified axiomatic with non-exclusive, mutually exclusive events as well as with mutually exclusive events, we came with the two different formulas. And now we have one of the formula, which is P of A and B is equal to P of A into P of B. And this theorem is known as, in literature, is known as multiplicative theory. And as we said, these are two independent events, right? Now if these two events are dependent, suppose A and B are dependent, then we call this probability, we call this theory to be conditional probability, right? So conditional probability is what? P of A given B, right? So we denote the conditional probability with this. Now, any event, right? Whenever your event is dependent in multiplication theorem, so you have this multiplication theorem, and whenever you have a dependency of the events into this theorem, it will not be applicable as it is, right? So for these events, you have to have a conditional probability, which is denoted by P of A upon B, and it is also termed as probability of A given B has occurred. So we have conditional probability P A by B, probability of A given B has occurred. Similarly, you can have probability of B by A, which is probability of B given A has occurred. So probability of A by B is equal to probability of the formula, complete the formula here. Probability of A by B is probability of AB upon probability of, as we said, B has occurred. Similarly, for this, the formula will be probability of AB given A has occurred, which means probability of A, right? So, which means we can now open this P of, or we can write the first theorem as P of A upon B could be P of A intersection B, which is P of B into P of A by B divided by, or we can say, yeah, this is complete, which is given PB, probability of event B. So P of A and B, you can write down this formula, which is the final formula for probability of A and B under conditional probability, which could be P of A into P of B. We already have written this formula. Now let us replace this P of A into P of B by A, right? Given your A has occurred. Similarly, we can calculate probability of A, B, C. How do we write this? For 3 events, for 2 events, this is the probability. Right? For 3 events, the probability will be P of A into P of B into P of C, which means P of A into, now what is P of B? P of B by A into P of C by AB, right? So we tried to set that probability of occurrence of ABC, which is the conditional probability, right? So this is equal to probability of A multiplied by probability of event B given A has a, multiply by probability of event C given both A and B has occurred. So this completes the formula for your probability of any number of given events, the conditional probability. So you have to take care that while solving the conditional probability examples, so if you are given any condition and there are dependent events into the experiment, then you have to apply this conditional probability. You have to calculate the probability of any event given the other event has occurred, right? So given the probability for the other event which has occurred, right? So based upon that, you are going to calculate the conditional probability. So this was about the conditional probability, and we'll sort some examples maybe in the Saturday lecture. I'll give you more examples from the complete sequence of probability theorems we have learned till now. Now let us move to the important part of this probability, because this was just the revision we have to come up with. These were the revision probability theorems, right? Now we have to come to the main theorem that we have to work in the distributions as well. And this theory of probability is also known as posterior theory. Can anybody tell me the difference between posterior and prior theory of probability, if you have get into the details, if you have learned this anytime? Yes? Any random answer? We can just try to work out from the words as well. We can just try to correlate priori probability or posterior probability.
Priori will be before the event and posterior would be after it.
Yes, this is good. Any more detail into this? Yes. Try to look for that difference. I'll ask you in the Saturday lecture, right? So in the priori probability, I'll just tell you that there is a pure deductive reasoning, right? Deductive reasoning. Yeah.
Ma'am, posteriori, I think it is basically conditional probability observed on a randomly observed data.
Yes. Nice. So that is the observed probability. Good. So
Yes,
try
yes.
to look for more differences in terms of reasoning as well, because priori probability is completely it is derived on the basis of deductive reasoning, right? So this is one of the difference in priori and posterior as well. And like we have already learned all the priori theorems where we have mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive events, and we can calculate these probability, right? And priori probability always have an important application when it comes to statistical mechanics. So whenever you are working into statistical mechanics, you can see the complete application of priori probability. Priori includes all the theorems we have learned till now, right? So coming from the basic classical theory, coming towards the conditional probability, right? How we have evolved through all these probability theorem, right? Coming from limitation of the classical theory towards conditional theorems, right? Conditional probability theorem. So we have to see how that evolution of probability theorem has take place. However, there could be some like experiments, there could be some sort of applications where like in isolation we can have the theorem applicable depending upon the application type, depending upon your data set, depending upon your experimentation. So you can have this. So it is not like I should not say that completely if we have evolved from classical to conditional. So this is the conditional priori theory which is in practice, or it has to be applied in every case. So this might differ from experiment to experiment as well. So you can have depending upon the type of events you have, depending upon the type of features you have. But the essential requirement for any, if you are all learning machine learning as well, right? So the basic or the maths behind that machine learning algorithm is completely based upon the probability and statistics theorems, right? So we have to learn all these theorems, and we have to see the sequence as well. So let us come to the next sequence of this probability theorem, which is posterior theory of probability. And this is a very famous probability theorem. All of you have heard this, right? This is called Bayes theorem. The posterior theory is also known as the Bayes theorem, and it was given by Thomas Bayes in 1763, right? So for example, let us learn how this works. Let us say there are two events, right? There are two events, A1 and A2, right? So let us try to visualize this. We have the sample space, right? And there is event A1, there is event A2, right? And now assume that there is more event B. So there is another event B which exists with the events A1 and A2, right? So with the existing events, there is event B. So let us say this is event B, which exists with the existing events, right? So this portion will be A1 and B. This is A2 and B. Let us have this nomenclature. Now, whatever application you have, for, let us first know that the application of the result of this probability theory, which is Bayes theory, it actually involves the estimation of unknown probability, right? And making the decisions on the basis of new or sample information. So as we said, we had some event A1 and A2. There is another event or new event has been added to this sample space. So this new event can actually identify, or on the basis of this we can actually make some decision, right? Or we can have some estimation of the unknown probability. So this is how we can see the application of probability theories, right? So probability theory is going to help you out in two things. You can estimate the unknown probabilities using the application of probability theorems, and then you can also make decisions on the basis of new or sample information. So events might kept on getting into the sample space. Some events will be in, some events might be out, depending upon the dynamicity of the sample space or so. So sample space might not be like a static sample space for every experiment. You can consider some more events to enter into your sample space and see the effect of that event on all the other variables, right? So this way we can actually validate or defend the experimentation, right? So application of any result of probability theory is going to give you this estimation as well as the decision on the basis of your new information, right? But the concept of conditional probability can again be like we have already extended it to revised probability, because this posterior theory of probability is also known as revised probability. And this revised probability is nothing, it is the revision of your conditional probability. And what this says that this conditional probability can be extended to revised probability based on new information. And now you can determine the probability particular effect was to a specific analyze the effect at. So as to probability, you try to determine the probability that this particular effect was due to the cause. So you can carefully analyze that, entering new information into what new information has it, and was this the like cause for a particular effect or not into your experimentation. So this we have to send. This is the revised probability, right? And now say these two events which we have taken, A1 and A2, these are mutually exclusive and exhaustive events. We have considered exhaustive, right? Now B is a simple event. That's why we have this, right? So these are mutually exclusive. They do together and they are exhaustive. They have all the possible outcomes into this sample space, right? So for A1, there are all possible outcomes into the sample space. For this A2 event, all possible outcomes are there into the sample space. So these two events are mutually exclusive events and they are exhaustive as well. And we have considered a third event, which is a simple event, right? So simple event which intersect both A1 and A2. This is our assumption, right, to come to the posterior theory of probability. Now, probability of so this is revised probability, revised conditional probability. So probability of A1 by B will be, as we have already learned, probability of A1 intersection B divided by probability of B, because we have a new event which has been added and we have to look for the intersection of that simple event which has been added to these two existing events A1 and A2. Similarly, probability of A2 by B will be probability of A2 intersection B upon P of PB. What is PB here? Yeah, am I audible to all? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So I had again some disturbance. I thought I have lost my connection. Fine. So what is PB here? PB is nothing. PB is probability of A1 intersection B plus probability of A2 intersection B, right? And what is P of A1 intersection B here? P of A1 into P of B by A1. And what is probability of A2 intersection B? I'm simply putting all the formulas which we have already learned. So we said we have two mutually exclusive and exhaustive events, A1 and A2. Then B is a simple event which intersect both A1 as well as A2. Now probability of A1B, right? Probability of happening of A1 given B has occurred will be probability of A1 intersection B by PB. Similarly, probability of happening of A2 given B will be this. And we have to write for probability of B, this is P of this probability of B in denominator is P of A1 intersection B plus P of A2 intersection B. So we have calculated this probability of this simple event B. And what is this probability of A1 intersection B? So this is probability of A1 into probability of B given A1, right? So this is simple conditional probability we have already learned. Similarly, for this, it will be P B given A2, right? So can you have a generalized formula now? Can you write the generalized formula? Let us assume that A1, A2, up to A1, AN events are there, right? Say these are N set of N mutually exclusive and collectively, because now we have more number of events here, A1 up to AN. So these are mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive events. And B, if assume B is another event such that P of B is not equal to 0, then P of A1 by B is equal to, all of you write the formulas with me, right? I'll also share this recording as well, or notes, in the form of notes or in the form of recording. But all of you ensure that you are doing this with me, which is summation of I equal to N, because now we are towards generalization of this revised probability theorem. So this is P of B upon AI into P of AI, right? So agree, this is P of probability of happening of event A1 given some event B has occurred, right? Simple event B has occurred. Now this is your formula, and we can again write more generic version of this formula, that is P of AI upon B. Now this is probability of any event, right? It could be A2, A3, AN. Given your probability, the event B has occurred, right? So this is probability of B by AI into probability of AI divided by summation I equal to N P of AI into, or we have simply shuffle this P of AI into P of B by AI. So this is your formula, the generic formula for the revised probability, right? Or we can say the Bayes theorem, or we can say the posterior theory of probability. So you can get it by any name in literature. It could be Bayes theorem, it could be revised probability, it could be posterior theorem, or theory of probability. Now we learned that the complete formulas which we have learned, the complete theory probability that we have seen, it implies that journal conditional probability, right? It looks for what is the probability of sample or experiment result given some state value. So your journal conditional probability asks for what is the probability of the sample or experiment result given some state value. You are already given some state value. Now you have to calculate the probability of that sample or the experiment result, right? Whereas you have learned Bayes theorem as well, which is revised conditional probability. So we said about journal CP. Now, what is Bayes' theorem, or let us write it Bayes' theorem only, because that might confuse. The revised conditional probability is, or the revised theorem is Bayes' theorem. Now, Bayes' theorem asks for the question, what is the probability of event given the sample or the experimental result? Do you find any difference here? Do you find any difference between these two statements? Yes? Can anyone interpret the statements?
मैम जनरल कंडीशनल प्रोबेबिलिटी में तो सैंपल की प्रोबेबिलिटी है और बेस
Yes.
थ्योरम में इवेंट की है.
Exactly. So general conditional probability will give you the probability of the sample, right? You are given some state value or so. Whereas in Bayes' theorem, you have to calculate the probability of the event, because now you are trying to see the effect and cause analysis. So any event which has been added, right? Given your sample space or given your experimental result. So this is completely flip of this general conditional. So that is why we call this revised probability, right? So Bayes' theorem is the revised probability theorem, where we will be concerned only about the probability of the event when you are given any sample or you are given any experiment result, right? Whereas your CP is going to calculate the probability of that experiment result given you have been given some state values also, right? So related to the basics of probability theorem, this was all I wanted to broadcast in terms of all the probability theorems and how the evolution has take place, right? And after that, we are going to start with probability distribution. So next week we will pick first probability distribution, that is binomial. Right, and with binomial, after binomial we will learn, because we are going to cover three probabilities here, though there are many types of binomial distribution. All of you know that there is multi-nominal distribution, there is negative distribution, multi-geometric distribution, but we will learn about binomial, Poisson and normal. So if we are able to learn these three distribution, probability distribution, then we can always go to literature and then learn all other distribution as well, because again, this will depend upon the type of application or data sets you are trying to apply, whether the binomial, the Poisson or the normal distribution is going to work out or not, right? So we will start with probability distribution, that is binomial, in the next week, and we'll take 2 lectures to complete this binomial distribution along with some examples. Okay, fine. Let me give you one problem here. All of you write the problem. Whatever we have learned, right, till now in the probability theorem. There are two machines. A and B. A gives 30% output. B gives 70% output. A produces 2% defective parts. B produces 5% defective parts. This is the question. Now you have to solve the probability. Calculate the probability of defective parts by A and B. All of you do this and just try to give me the answers. Those who will be done with this example can start with the next example. So again, you have a factory which have machines, say A, B, C. Machine A gives 50%, machine B gives 30% and C gives you 20%, right? And the past statistics show that 4% by A are defective, B 2% are defective, and C 4% are defective. Now here you have to calculate the probability. Probability that a randomly selected toy is defective. And then what is the probability that it is produced by machine A? Try to solve the examples. We have two machines A, B. In the first example, 30% output by A, B, 70%, 2% are defective, and then 5% defective by B. Probability of defective parts by A and B. Anyone if have calculated? What will be the formula?